Hi, Kurtz here for Easy Access Math, and today we're going to look at an alternate method to factor a trinomial. Alternate method in trinomial factoring. Now basically in trinomial factoring, if your lead value does not have a number before the x, meaning it's 1, a is 1, then it's quite simple. What you need to do is look for two numbers that multiply to the last number and add up to the middle number. But here, the lead number is not 1. If that lead number is 2x squared, 3x squared like we have, 5x squared, then you can't simply do it that way. But when you do factor, you're going to create two sets of parentheses, like a FOIL. The numbers will multiply. The two numbers that you're looking for will multiply to this last number, in this case, -40. So we're going to use that, and we're going to create FOIL problems for ourselves. Now, I hope you're strong at foiling. Foiling is a very good skill. It's a good alternate means to get the answer. Could be somewhat time-consuming, but you could budget your time on other questions and use it for a question like this to FOIL each choice. But you have to create the other half of the FOIL. You see, a question might be worded not to factor, but to find a factor of this trinomial. A factor means they only give you one. But you could find the other one, and I'll show you how. And then what you're going to do is FOIL, basic FOIL, with two binomials, two parts. So we're going to keep this 40 at the end in mind. And what I'm going to do is create a FOIL, so I'm going to put parentheses around choice A, and I have the 3x here. See, and that matches the 3x in the lead. So if I have 3x in the first, I will put x, just plain x, in the second one. And what multiplies by 5 to give me 40? 5 times 8 would give me 40, and it's a -40, so the signs would be unlike, and so this would be negative because this one is positive. What I'd like to do first, before I go ahead and FOIL, is create the FOIL setup for each choice. This is a backdoor method. Again, if you had a lead number of just x, no number before it, then you would simply be looking for two numbers that add to the middle and multiply to the last. But because there's a 3 here, you can't do it that way. So if you set up the other factor, if you could figure out the other factor by determining what multiplies by 40 and knowing your signs, and then you could FOIL back the right answer. You see, they're not giving you both factors because they don't want you to FOIL on a test that's just asking for a factor. But you could use some logic. You could be clever and use some intuition and figure out what the other factor would be, and then FOIL. And that is a good check. So I'm going to create the FOILs for each. For 3x minus 8, well again, if I have 3x in the first set, then the second one would be the regular x. And minus 8, to get 40, would be positive 5 to get a -40. So the signs, again, unlike, would be x plus 5. Let's do choice C. I'm given the x plus 5. So to get the 3x there, it would be, in my other step, let me make my other parentheses. And that would be 3x. And to give me a -40, minus 8. In choice D, I'm giving the x plus 8. And so my next set would be, well, I have the x here. So if I'm given x in my choice, the other parenthesis will have the 3x. And to get me to the 40, positive 8 times negative 5 is 40. And finally, that last choice, it's kind of like the odd one. It has x plus 10. It is possible that that could work. That would give me, again, I have the x, so 3x. And to get 40 from a plus 10, and it's negative 40, would be negative 4. Now, when I FOIL out, when I do FOIL, and I can't stress enough how important FOIL is, and that you should practice FOIL. Watch a video that we have, or one of the many videos on basic FOIL. When you FOIL these out, the one that works out to the original problem will be your answer, 3x squared minus 19x minus 40. So let's look at A. I'm going to FOIL A. I have 3x plus 5, and I have x minus 8. And now I'm going to FOIL. Remember the rules of FOIL. First, 3x times x gives me 3x squared. Then I have outer. 3x times minus 8 is minus 24x. Then I have inner. And that gives me 5 times x is positive 5x. And last will give me 5 times negative 8 is negative 40. And let's make sure everything is good here. We have my 24x, and my inner is positive 5x. This combines to negative 19x minus 40 and 3x squared. And that seems to work. I have 3x squared minus 19x minus 40. And that was my original problem. So when I FOILed it, it came to the same answer. And that works. If I try some other ones, you'll see you will not get the same results. So let's try one more. Let's take a look at choice D. We have x plus 8. We paired that with 3x minus 5. First, we have 3x squared. Outer, we have negative 5x. Inner, we have positive 24x. And last, we have negative 40. So when I combine these, we're pretty close. We have combined a positive 19x. Everything else was the same. 3x squared was there. The negative 40 was there. But the sign was wrong here. We have a positive 19x for choice D. It has to work out to exactly the same sign. So if you FOIL all of these, only A will FOIL back to the original problem. 3x squared minus 19x minus 40. Now, had that been a plus 19x in the original, then D would work. It's FOILing it back. So let's FOIL that again. What we'll do is erase that. And I want to review how I got the FOIL mates. Remember, we were only given the first factor. And the one that works, that's going to be your answer. A, 3x plus 5, is a factor because it worked with its mate. Now, how did I get that second part? Well, if I have the 3x plus 5 here, I need a number here that gets me to 40 when I multiply. 5 times what is 40? 5 times 8 is 40. And I'm using the negative 8 because it was a negative 40, so the signs were unlike. You have to keep those rules constantly in mind. The signs would be unlike when it's negative, so a positive 5 here gives me a negative 8 here to give me a negative 40. Now, because I had the 3x here to give me the 3x in the lead, I'm just going to have a regular x in the second. That lead could be 2, 3, 5, and that's what one of the sets will have, and the other set would have a plain x usually. Now, when I take that, 3x plus 5, and with the one I paired it with, by figuring out what would give me that negative 40 at the end, x minus 8, and I FOIL, and let's carefully FOIL again. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times negative 8 for outer is negative 24x. Let's do inner now. 5 times x is positive 5x. And finally, last would be my 5 times 8. Positive 5 times negative 8. There's my negative 40 that I was looking for, the negative 40 in the problem. When I combine like terms, as we do in FOIL, and remember in basic FOIL, where it's 2 binomials, you'll end up with 4 pieces. 2 of those usually could be combined. So my negative 24 and positive 5 combine to negative 19. You subtract because the signs are unlike. Give it the sign of the higher number. And bring down my 3x squared. And my negative 40 here. And as you can see, this matches that. They're exactly the same. Meaning that this was the FOIL, and the factor 3x plus 5, which you were given, is one of the factors. Because when we paired it with what would go with that factor, it works. Anything else here, remember you needed to come to 40 at the end. And so anything else with these other signs, these other numbers, these other combinations that do give you 40 will not work exactly the same. You saw with choice D, it was close, but you ended up with a positive 19. So what you're looking for is you're looking for the factor that when paired with a factor, you're going to use logic, you're going to think about what would go with by knowing that they multiply to the last number. And if you're given the lead in one set, then the other set will have the plain x. If you're not given that lead number in the set you're given, then the other one that you create will get it. Whether it's a 2x squared, 3x squared, 5x squared. One of them will have that, and one of them will have a plain x. So you're setting up your other half of the FOIL. You have to cleverly do that. Then you FOIL. And you might be FOILing up to 4 or 5 times, depending on how many choices you have. But this is how you could manipulate a multiple choice test in your favor. And when you do FOIL this choice back, you will get the original problem exactly. And that's how you know that is a factor. This is an alternate method that you could use, a little time consuming, but it will get you the right answer to factor a trinomial and get the factors. You'll actually come up with both factors, but you'll know which one was the given factor. This can be used for question 9 on problem set A or B, or question 19 on problem set Q.